Welcome everybody to this month's Men's Healing Matters. I'm Nyles Pinckney. I'm the Men's Healing Coordinator here at Support After Abortion. Today we are going to talk about nature-based healing, and this is to give us an opportunity to look for support for those that are looking for different ways to heal that may work for them and try new things. The most consistent finding internationally is that spending recreational time, space, and in natural spaces helps reduce negative emotions and induces positive ones. These are a few of the benefits from green and blue spaces. Melissa Piesky from the Forensic in European Union study explained the science behind the natural benefits, emotions, and well-being. It improves the mood, such as serotonin. It decreases cortisol, reduces stress, reduces depression, anxiety, anger, confusion, and fatigue as well. Articles in for Frontiers Psychology and Environmental Health and Preventative Medicine also show the mind-body connection of spending time in natural environments. Regain sense of balance and calm, reduce feelings of isolation, regulate emotions, reduce stress, improve the ability to focus on the present, reduce being overwhelmed by grief, enhance mood and feelings of well-being. I want to introduce our guest speaker, David Young. He's a longtime Celebrate Recovery participant and a small group leader. He's also an outdoor enthusiast who has experienced nature-based healing on his own and in men's crowns and camp retreats. David is going to share with us how to use nature to reflect, release emotions, and gain new perspectives. And we're going to give some practical tips for guiding men to explore their healing journey outdoors, whether on their own or in a group. Welcome, David, and thank you for joining us today.
Hello.
David, you could give yourself a small introduction if I may have missed anything about you.
You covered it pretty well. I grew up in Northwest Pennsylvania, out in the middle of nowhere. So I was pretty much born into nature-based healing without even knowing it.
With our great conversation we've had about nature-based healing, even in our small time talking, you motivated me to go camping and set up a campfire and do a little healing myself in that way. So for
Good.
those that are maybe wondering, how would you describe nature-based healing to give a background information and insight to anybody that may be looking into this?
I guess it would be kind of twofold. Some nature-based healing is going to definitely be just you being on your own. One of the big things from Celebrate Recovery is hurt people hurt people. So to be able to go out and just be on your own without taking your emotions out on other people is definitely a positive. In doing that, you also cut off your cell phone, just get away from everyone and have time to reflect on yourself without the daily interruptions of social media and text messages and phone calls, where you get to just be alone with yourself and have time to process what you're going through. The second part of that is it's really good for guys to get with guys who they trust and know, and get out into nature and just have time to share with one another. A lot of times in social environments, men like to epitomize men and their tough, exterior. Whereas when you get with a group of guys that you trust and you have that opportunity and chance to share a little bit more in depth and emotional feeling type things that you wouldn't typically do if you were hanging out watching a football game somewhere.
Of course, for me personally, I know like a lot of guys and men I've hung out with, I've spent time just being together, but I really never thought about being in nature with multiple of my guy friends or kind of fit when we do fishing or we do certain things like that. We never look at that in nature-based healing. Our conversation made me think about even going fishing with my friends or other people I may not even know that well through mutual people. It's just a chance for us to heal and get to know each other and kind of just open up that safe space and give you time away from technology, social media, and the things in the world going on right now. So I
Yep.
really appreciate that. You gave us a background, you being from Pennsylvania, you got thrown into nature, but could you explain how did you discover nature-based healing for yourself and what role has it played in your own personal healing journey?
When I found out that through my life, what I've been doing is nature based healing, is when I got into Celebrate Recovery. I joined that church where that was being held. There was a men's group, and we did a lot of guy stuff together, like camping trips, rafting trips, stuff like that. Celebrate Recovery is really where it dawned on me that all this time when I was a kid, I would come home from school and just get on the four-wheeler and go ride through the woods. And that was me just getting away from everything and thinking about what happened throughout that day, and just giving myself time to reflect on uh, how I'm doing, what I'm feeling. Something hard happened through the day. A 10-year-old has hard days too, even though it's not as hard as an adult. But being at Celebrate Recovery helped me understand that these times of being out and being alone by myself and thinking about these things was my nature-based healing. As far as the role in my own personal healing journey, the men getting together and being men and trusting each other, that's where it really helped me expand on my healing. I had a lot of issues with being a people pleaser, being codependent, and until Celebrate Recovery, I didn't know what that was, and I didn't know how it affected people. I always thought I was being the good person, trying to help everyone else out and putting everyone else in front of myself. And then learning that if I can just get away and think about these specific ideas, it would help me. I don't necessarily need to fix this other person. I can guide them to what I think they should do. And then if they want to choose to go on the path they're continuing to go on, or maybe take a different route, that's up to them. I can't control what other people do. Being out in the woods and just sitting or going for a walk allowed me the time to think about that and just think about the issues I had with other people and how I was too involved with what they were doing versus what I could actually do for them.
I understand that because it's one of the things we've talked or an old saying for me from the South is you can take a cow to the river to drink, but you can't make them drink. Do you have a certain memory that sticks out to you when it comes to men learning anything from healing or being out in nature?
Yeah, absolutely. So back to the men's group, the first camping trip I went on with them was a multi-night trip. I think it was 3 nights and 4 days. I knew the guys. They were good people to hang around with. We enjoyed the same activities, but I didn't know them. Like there wasn't complete trust. So the first night we sat around the fire and some of the members that have been there for a long time would start conversations and open things up to everyone. And I sat and I listened and I would agree and I just basically kept quiet. Second night, maybe I joined the conversation a little bit. But that third night, after spending the days with these guys and just being away, and it wasn't like I chose to cut off my phone. It's just we were in a space up in Tennessee somewhere, but there was no cell service. There was nothing. You were cut away from everything. And so having that time to be with the guys, thinking about the stories that were told at the campfire the nights before, that third night I really opened up. And it took a lot of weight off my shoulders just getting my story out and sharing with other people where I'm at in life and the things I've dealt with. Because for a while, I always felt like that was something that I had to carry. I had to carry that burden on my own. No
Mhm.
one else had dealt with what I had to deal with, and being able to share and being with a group of guys I could share with really helped with that. And I think the fact that we are out in nature and cut away from everything else really opened me up and allowed me to share with others, which brought along that healing, that relief of that weight being lifted off my shoulders.
Oh, of course, I can understand that. When I first moved to Minnesota in the middle of January, and if you know Minnesota, that's snowstorms. I'm used to being out in nature in the woods, being from South Carolina, and I would use waterfowl sounds on YouTube or anything that kind of simulate that experience. Was there a way for anybody that may be living in places where there's just not much nature available? How would you help them get that nature-based healing that you're speaking of?
Absolutely. So on one end, just shut your phone off. Just cut yourself off from everything. Because as much as you want to think that, hey, I'll just put my phone over here, I won't pay attention to it. You're gonna pay attention to it. You're gonna say, well, I wonder if that was important. Do I need to take that right now?
Yeah.
Shut it off. Get rid of that. And then going back to technology, you can do YouTube. YouTube has hour and a half long videos of just storms or rain or a creek. If you live in a place where you cannot get to nature, you can't get to the ocean, you can't get to a lake, find something online that you can play and just sit there, listen, watch, and kind of contemplate the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions that that's bringing out in. I think that would be probably the easiest way for someone that's city bound. You don't have transportation outside the city. How do you get away? That would have to be my number one go to for that.
I know that was a big help for me, especially in the middle of a 3 week long negative 20-degree weather. I don't think I would want to sit outside and think in that weather. I choose to heal and sit on a park bench in that kind
Mhm.
of weather. I know that some may not have that accessibility or be able to do that. So I appreciate you sharing that. And
Yep.
it kind of circle back about your first camping trip that you went on. I know you brought up sitting around the fire. Were there other activities or anything that you felt really got everybody to open up and be more vulnerable?
Well, as far as opening up and being vulnerable, the main thing was at night around the fire. That's when everyone got together and shared. But we also would go fishing. We went tubing down the river. Sometimes you could have some one-on-one time with another person, and that also allows you the time to open up to them. Maybe you said something at the fire the night before that they really connected with. And
Mhm.
then that next day, when you're out doing more kind of solo things, they come in and just say, "Hey, what you said last night really resonated with something I'm going through," and that's helpful as well.
How do you think nature-based healing could be used to support men emotionally after their abortion? What about it can help men process complex emotions like grief, depression, or anger that are often tied to abortion experience?
That's a good question. I think it all ties together, whether you're dealing with emotions coming from abortion or something that's really bumming you out throughout the day. I find it hard to narrow down this is only for abortion support.
Oh, of
I think
course.
it's just support in general, just being out and seeing the ocean, the mountains, being in a forest, and just taking that in. That serenity really allows you to contemplate on where you're at, where you've been, what you've been through. So I think it's hard to really narrow it down to one thing. I think nature-based healing works for everything.
Of course, like you said, somebody that may be dealing with grief, depression, or anger, even though it may not be tied to after abortion experience, those emotions can be helped through nature-based healing. You went on a camping trip with a lot of men. Do you think that somebody that may be starting, should they do more individual or should they just start with a group? Or do you think it's just wherever you're comfortable?
Definitely wherever you're comfortable, but I feel like going out on your own to begin with is probably most beneficial. A lot of times, guys being guys, until you find someone that you're really comfortable sharing with, it's hard to open up about the deeper emotions that you have, and it's typically easier to deal with them on your own. Not to say you should never get with someone else and talk to them about your emotions, because you don't want to get into that boat. You always need to find someone that you can unload to, because just holding all that stuff inside is never good for you. But
Oh, no.
to begin with, I would say out on your own, maybe make a list of what you're feeling and why you're feeling it. Maybe just what you're feeling is a big thing. And then go sit at the ocean, go for a walk, and then go through those emotions of what you're feeling. I think your responses to why you're feeling that way should come a lot easier when you're by yourself.
I was wondering because I know some people that may not feel safe, or especially their first time, they may not want to go camping by themselves right away. If somebody doesn't know how to make a campfire, I think they're going to be stressing about that instead of their healing process. That may be on some mind, or some people may come in and be like, "So you just want me to go walk into the woods by myself and I'll be healed?" No, there's a process and safety to follow. What practical tips would you offer to providers who want to incorporate nature-based healing into their after abortion care for men?
Well, I'll kind of go off of what you just said. I wouldn't send someone out into the woods and just be like, "Go fix yourself." Give them a game plan, make a treasure hunt type thing, and say, find 5 different types of leaves. And as you find each leaf, think of that as an emotion. How would you deal with this emotion? This leaf can represent what would you do with it? How do you deal with it? It's an activity versus just going off blindly into the woods. Kind of give them a guidebook to nature, I guess.
Yes, I know for me, I may have been nature-based healing before I even knew about it. Sometimes just me being able to sit at the river or lake, take some time to myself and think and write down notes and just process feelings. Like you said, put your phone down, turn it off, and give yourself a chance to isolate. Even though you're dealing with those emotions, sometimes when you're alone, you just kind of have those thoughts in your mind. I felt like when I had that happen, I was sitting by the river or lake, it kind of gave me a chance to really look into myself and think.
You just said something that reminded me, take a notebook with you and write down what you're feeling. Because a lot of times we'll process stuff and then just forget about it. I mean, personally, I do. But when I have it written down, I can go back through and see where I was and how I came through it. I think that's really important as well.
Of course. Before we open up the floor for questions, what would be one thing people could take away about using nature-based healing and supporting emotional healing for men?
Number one, typically doesn't really cost you anything. And then the focus that you can get when you're away from everything else. You allow yourself to more or less create your own line of understanding where just being out in the middle of nature and relaxing, um, not having to worry about what other things are going on at that point in time. Again, this is all personal to me, but it really helps just get rid of the cloudiness in the mind and you can really focus a lot better.
Of course. One thought may be for some is if you're already feeling alone, why would you want to be alone more? What would you recommend for anybody that they already feel alone?
Take that thought with you into nature. Why are you feeling alone? Think about that while you're alone. Being alone in nature doesn't necessarily mean you're alone by yourself. That could be a perfect time to think about, hey, who could I open up to about this? I really feel alone. Who can I talk to about this? That could be something you think about as you're going through by yourself. And again, it opens up your mind to thoughts that in everyday life, dealing with social media, calls, texts, and everything else, you don't have time to think about it. So I guess my answer to that is be alone to think about why you're alone.
I know when I went through my abortion experience, when I was alone and I felt like I just kept being alone, sometimes it really did give me a chance to really think. But some people I know that headspace can be a dangerous place. But like you
Mhm.
said, I wish I had thought when I was dealing with my experience, who can I talk to? Who can I
Yeah.
lean? I want to open up the chat.
David, one of our attendees, would like to know that just sharing your story with men who you realized would understand and relate to your story actually helped you heal from your issues and struggles.
Oh, absolutely. When you can find someone else that can connect with what you're going through, it goes back to what we were just talking about being alone. Because a lot of times we have these emotions that we feel like we're the only ones going through it. So when you can connect with someone else that's gone through that same thing, it's like a whole new door has been opened up for you. Like, hey, I can talk to this person about what I was just going through.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, David. We have another question, David. Do you feel that the seasons or weather patterns influence your healing experiences?
Yeah, I mean, like Niles was saying, it's probably not very calming to go out in, 18-degree weather and try to concentrate on something. I think your biggest concentration on that point would be keeping warm. So obviously, that's not going to be very helpful for you. I think in that instance, you probably want to stick with the YouTube video of nature, but definitely spring and fall are awesome times to get out just because you get to see the beauty of things. Definitely those two seasons would be my prime times.
Perfect. Thank you. I think Niles has a few more questions.
You're welcome.
Thank you for answering those questions, David. I did see a question that says, as a woman, how would slash should I go about inviting the man to go into nature and heal? I'm aware that an invitation to go for a walk together might come across as awkwardly, but also sometimes they need an invitation and presence like like I mentioned, on how do we go about navigating that?
That's tough. That's a good question. I'll just say what comes to mind first is when I was going through Celebrate Recovery, we didn't do men and women. I think the answer to that would be find a man who this man trusts and see if he would be able to go in nature with him. Um, because I think it's hard for guys to relate with women the same way they would relate with a man. They'll share things differently than they would man and woman, man and man, woman and woman.
I want to add to that because I feel like men definitely do connect with other men in a different way than they do with women. When it comes to that headspace of not wanting to be that vulnerable. I can't speak for all men, but I know for myself, that sense of vulnerability can sometimes be a little bit scary or a little bit like a feeling of being naked. What would you recommend for men to help them talk to another man?
You know, it took me some time to actually share with people. You really have to build a trust with someone to be able to tell them your innermost feelings and emotions. And I don't know how soon you could get that to happen. You can't force it. So maybe at that point in time, you're better off having someone guide you through a solo walk through the woods or a solo trip to the beach, versus trying to force them to share with another person.
Of course, going off what you said, you find somebody you could trust, even if it's a brother, cousin, friend, or maybe somebody you met through mutual friends to help you get that vulnerability. What helped you get there?
Finding out that there are other people dealing with the same thing I dealt with, knowing I wasn't alone in my emotions and feelings, knowing that there are other people that suffered through the same thing I went through, knowing other people had the same emotions I had. Just that not being alone.
I think that's the biggest thing is knowing that you're not alone in this journey, that healing and support comes in all different ways and sizes and meeting people in the middle where they are. So I think that'll be a big thing that help providers or anybody interested in suggesting nature-based healing. I joke about it all the time with my friends. I told them after our interview, I'm having a hard day. I think I'm gonna go camping. And they were like, it's Wednesday. I explained our conversation. I suggested even sitting on the park bench or even like eating a meal outside, putting your phone down and just taking in the nature, the sounds and the feelings. It gives you a chance to decompress. Now, I know I talked about being in a park, but what about people that live like near a beach or in the mountains? How would you find a nature-based healing?
In the mountains, you're right there with it. Find a stream, sit down and just listen to the water going, toss the rocks with your thoughts. Go to the beach, sit down, listen to the waves, just find a spot to be by yourself. I wouldn't suggest going to a highly public beach because
Mhm.
that's not going to get you what you're looking for. But even if you can just overlook the ocean, sit in your car and just take it in from that viewpoint.
What is one of the underrated benefits of nature-based healing for personal health?
Well, if you decide to go for a walk and contemplate what's going on in your life and your emotions, you're getting exercise in that. You can also pick up a book on trees or plants and teach yourself about nature, identify different things that you find. That would be a unknown benefit to this nature-based healing is expand your knowledge as you're expanding your healing.
What is the most difficult part for some to understand when it comes to nature-based healing?
I think you kind of hit on that earlier with why would I want to go be alone if I'm feeling alone? I think a lot of people would have a hard time accepting that thought pattern of get by yourself to find yourself. You may have to press that hard to some people for them to understand that being alone doesn't necessarily mean you're in panic mode. Being alone can be helpful to understanding your emotions and why you're feeling what you're feeling.
Thank you, David, for your time and your insight. We appreciate you taking the time to give us your thoughts on nature-based healing, your personal experience, and sharing your story, letting everybody have the chance to learn more about nature-based healing, include this in their healing for men or women as well.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me.
Throughout this webinar, we've been exploring how to get in it outside in nature. It can be a game changer in healing and the process of helping us with our emotions like grief, guilt, anger, and more. So now it's time to take that knowledge and put it into action. Here at Support After Abortion, we've created a 5 and 5 nature healing challenge. And we're challenging you and your clients to get outside and experience this healing for yourselves. It's simple. Over the next 5 weeks from today until our next Men's Healing Matters, we're challenging you and your clients to get outdoors and do 5 nature-based healing activities. So this can be anything from being in the park, hiking, kayaking, or watching a squirrel. I don't know how many people would watch a squirrel, but if that's what helps you heal, it works for you. And we understand it here at Support After Abortion. Each activity is tied to a specific emotion, often experienced by people who are struggling after abortion. Each activity comes with a reflection prompt to help you connect deeper with your emotions. For example, when we talk about anger, throw some stones into a river. David actually brought this up earlier when he said, throw your thoughts. So with anger, you could throw stones to a river, lake, or pond. With each stone, say aloud or think about something related to your abortion experience that makes you angry. As a stone leaves your hand, visualize the specific anger being released into the water, and then it gives you a chance to reflect. So when it comes to reflection, with part of this anger, can I let go of today? What actions are within my control that can help me? Simple activities like these can mean a lot. You could cross this off the checklist. There's many other activities on here that may feel more comfortable for you or go along with the emotions that you're feeling. These are 5 rows of 5 activities. Pick any 5 of them that feels comfortable to you or is available to you. If you want to push it and do more, you can do more activities or fill up the whole board if you like to. So we just want to give everybody opportunity to do that before our next Men's Healing Matter meeting.